Win big with new DRF All Access past performances. With one best-in-class product, you now get all three past performance formats. Go to DRF.com and use coupon code 1FREEPP for a free single card today.
Hi, everyone. This is the preview segment of the first Derby Watch of 2024. I'm Brad Free, joined by David Aragona. Only one major prep race in the U.S. this week. It's at Tampa Bay Downs. David, the Derby Watch early favorite was expected to run Saturday in Florida. What happened with regards to Locked?
Boy, it's got to be a frustrating few days for Todd Pletcher. First, that performance by Fierceness last week in the Holy Bull, and Locked being withdrawn from the Sam F. Davis, came down with a fever. He had been training up to this race like he was ready to run, but unfortunately, that last-minute setback will force him to not make his 2024 debut this next weekend. Hopefully, he returns to the work tab soon. I think Pletcher sounded optimistic about that, so hopefully things get back on track. Certainly better to have a setback in February than it is the week before the Kentucky Derby, as Pletcher found out last year.
Yeah, no question with regards to Forte or Fort, however you want to pronounce it. David and I are recording this segment before the draw for the Sam Davis this weekend. So we're going to speak in kind of general terms and talk about three of the colts that we expect to be in the field. The horse at the top of the list, Change of Command, is expected to start as, if not the favorite, certainly one of the favorites. David, here's my issue with Change of Command. Each start in his career has been better than the start before, including his most recent start, but that also is his first with Lasix. I'm always skeptical backing a horse who earned a career best number in his first start with Lasix, knowing that he's not going to be using Lasix moving forward. Am I overthinking it with regards to Change of Command?
I think it's definitely something you want to consider. It maybe is a little odd that Chuck McGahee even elected to use Lasix in that race, knowing that this was a potential target for this horse, potentially a Derby type. He's been improving with every start, as you said. One positive thing I will say about that January 1st allowance victory is a horse who finished way behind him that day, Real Macho, did come back to upset an allowance race that Bore Noble was second in, a horse that people liked on the Derby trail up until last Saturday, in an allowance race going a mile that came up reasonably fast. So that's a positive sign for the form of that race, the Change of Command won.
Not only that, but the runner-up Cardinal was more than 6 lengths clear of third. So it's entirely possible it was a better race than even the number suggests, first with Lasix, and we're going to find out moving forward. Okay, Agate Road, I think the one thing that leaps off the page to me is this is a turf horse. However, his first start was on dirt. He ran well. His dam won a grade 1 on dirt. So why can't Agate Road make that switch from turf to dirt, David?
His debut in an off-the-turf race at Saratoga probably did not come against the best field that we saw of maidens last year in the summer. One horse out of that race, Legree, has come back since then and run some faster speed figures on the dirt, so maybe a slight positive sign for that race, but he did really improve on the turf. Like you said, there's dirt pedigree on the dam side. I think the dam has even produced a horse that has done well routing on the dirt against Allowance Company. So Agate Road, he certainly has the pedigree credentials to make this switch back to dirt, but doing it in the afternoon can be another matter.
Yeah, and it also, I kind of got the feel that maybe the only reason Agate Road is in this race is because Locked is not. I don't know if that's true or not, but Change of Command, Agate Road, two of the top contenders. I completely overlooked Copper Tax. David, I think you have a little something to say about this horse. He was nowhere in the Remsen, but he had an excuse.
Well, I mean, he's a horse who's done a lot of winning. I mean, he won 5 in a row last year coming into that Remsen, mostly against softer competition over shorter distances. But we've talked about that Remsen quite a bit, being a race where the rail was where you wanted to be. Horses who rode the inside, as winner Dornoch did, seem to have an advantage. And Copper Tax broke from post 9, and he was 5 wide around the first turn, 3 to 4 wide around the second turn. Just an impossible trip over that racetrack. And he actually was passing some horses at the end. So not a bad effort considering those circumstances. And he could be an interesting horse that could fly slightly under the radar in the Sam F. Davis.
All he has done so far is win 5 of his 7 starts. So we know he's a racehorse. We don't know where he fits on the class ladder. Those are the 3 contenders we expect to see in the entries late Wednesday. Change of Command, Agate Road, and Copper Tax. And David, I think that you're going to take a little bit more in-depth look at this race sometime on Thursday. Am I right about that?
Yes, I'll be recording stakes previews of just about every major Derby prep through this season as part of our Timeform US Road to the Derby series. You can find that also on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel.
Excellent. Before we turn the page, I just want to talk briefly about the history of the Sam Davis. The last Sam Davis winner to hit the board in the Kentucky Derby was Bluegrass Cat way back in 2006. However, from 2006 forward, 10 of the 18 Sam Davis winners did end up in the starting gate in the Kentucky Derby. So in terms of just participation, there's a high likelihood that whoever does win the Sam Davis will end up in the Kentucky Derby field. And as I mentioned earlier, I think some of these lower profile races might be a little more significant this year with California virtually eliminated from the conversation. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the On the Bubble segment. And these are 3-year-olds that David and I are monitoring. We discussed whether to include them on the list or not. And this week, for the very first Derby Watch, it's 3 horses. They each have started only once, and they were all impressive in their career debut. Just a Touch for Brad Cox, Knightsbridge for Bill Mott, and Todd Pletcher trained Tuscan Sky. They've all started only once. David, I think that all 3 of these showed some clear potential first time out. Would you agree?
They definitely showed potential. We've seen before it's not impossible for a horse who only has one start under their belt in February to make it to the Kentucky Derby and even win that race. So we'll see if these 3 can go that distance, but they've all shown talent. Of this trio, I'm probably most excited about Just the Touch because he just strikes me as a horse that will want to go some longer distances based on what I saw from his debut.
Let's take a look at the past performances real quick of the On the Bubble horses. Just a Touch right at the top. And David, you're right. You know, lightly raced horses such as the 3 we're looking at right now, once upon a time, they were virtual throwouts. Not anymore. Mage last year was, at this point in time, was a 1-start maiden. In 2018, Justify had not even started yet. So the game is kind of changing a little bit. And these are 3 horses, Just a Touch, Knightsbridge, and Tuscan Sky, that we are going to be keeping an eye on as we move into winter and closer to spring. So that is a wrap. For Derby Watch Preview, David and myself will be back next week for the second edition of Derby Watch 2024. For David, I'm Brad Free, and we'll talk to you next week.